Ms. Tammy, can I make a comment? You know that Angela's name is on here twice? Okay. Okay. No.
All right, are there any citizen comments? Now we go to the agenda. Consideration and possible action to accept the FY 2021 audit. Financial year.
Mr. Joe is here to present.
Good evening, board members. I believe I met some of you last week. Good evening. Last week we have the council meeting. They approved the audit report for the 2021. So tonight I give you a brief presentation for the EDCs. If you have the report, I believe Tammy already printed now. Let's turn to the second page. First, I'd like to present that audit opinion we issue for your audit report is the unmodified opinion. That is the clean and the highest opinion we can issue for the financial statement. So you are pretty good. It's no material misstatement, it's clean, yeah. And then let's turn to the next page. That's the balance sheet. We present 2 years. The right hand is the 2020. Let's take a look at the 2021. You have about 913,000 cash, and then you have about 2.6 restricted cash. That is you set aside for the capital project, and then you have some receivable, about 200,000. The total asset is about 3.7 million. Compared with last year, you 1 million increase. So let's take a look at the next page, why you increase 1 million. The next page is the operating statement. The upper part is the revenue. You have about 1.1 million sales tax collected last year. Compared with the year 2020, 940,000, you're about like a 20% increase in sales tax. So it's pretty good. And your expenditure this year is 103,000. Last year you have 860,000 because you have a big project last year, right, Chris? For the large revenues. So if you don't have the capital project, you will reserve for the future expenditure. So all your sales tax will restrict it to the future capital project. So that's why this year you will have 1 million increase at the fund balance. Do you have any question so far? You want to? No?
Thanks for explaining this to me. I just want to make sure that I understand and see it clearly. Where is the payment that we're making towards the, our portion for the city project? Is it listed
Oh,
here?
that's the capital outlay. If you see the expenditure.
The 750?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's last year. But this year you don't have that expenditure. But maybe next year you will have.
What, I was under the impression that we were paying, like, I've been paying for a while.
Are you talking about the 90% sales tax? or you-
Yes.
Okay, that's in the restricted cash.
Restricted.
It was on the page before this one.
Restricted cash?
2.6
restricted
million
cash.
that's
Okay.
just being set aside. for when
So
the
that is what
breakdown.
we've set aside so far, the restricted cash?
Yes, that's what's,
About
that's what's in
2.6
your,
million.
that's for 3 years, and that's also in your financials packet that's on your consent agenda.
Okay, this is 3 years of the payment, okay. And we're still left with 3.7 in the end? Am I reading that right?
The 3.7 minus the 2.6, because that 2.6 is spoken for.
I see it, okay, and assigned. Got it, okay. I apologize, I'm not a big sometimes I need to say a little bit extra. Thank you.
Any other question? No? Okay. Next page, we'll have a chart to show the 10-year sales tax trend. So you can see what's the improvement progress you make from 2012 to last year. So basically your trend is up. Yeah, every year almost up. So you have a big jump in 2016, yeah, but you're pretty stable, improve. So yeah, that's the presentation I make tonight here. Any more questions we can discuss, or you want to know like some future project? Maybe Chris can explain to you any capital project. Yeah.
Well, Joe, thank you very much. Appreciate you.
All right.
Okay.
I make a motion that we accept the fiscal year 2021 audit.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. At the 2022 Business Expo and Taste of the Town.
So this one, I was trying to find my notes on it, was Lorraine had, and the mayor had been discussing this option that they had saw through the chamber's monthly newsletters. So they've got several different categories that you can do for a booth. They have a captain's booth, an anchor booth, a compass booth, and a restaurant booth. When I talked to Carrie with the chamber, the compass booth is $400. That is the lower level of the booth, and they're based on the sizes. So he said the compass booth would be one sufficient for what the city, we didn't need electricity or what the EDC would want to do with it. So it'd be, if you chose to do a booth, it'd be $400. It would be putting out some advertisement things for the city. Robina had also mentioned an interest in this. So if you choose to do it, the one thing we have done, we've got some nice logo tablecloths for the city that would go on the table. We have a city banner that's like one of those fold-up banners that has a city map of all the subdivisions showing, it's a whole city listing out subdivisions on that one. It's one that is owned by the city, and then focuses on, of course, the town center coming in. But then another one is for the EDC that lists all the EDC projects from, I think, 2004 through 2021. So it's a 6 foot by, it's like 72 inches by 30 inches. So it's a long fold up. It's very nicely designed, and it'll list every project that the EDC has done, advertising that. And then, should you choose to, we've got a list of little freebie items that we wanted to keep the theme for this, if it was done kind of to match what the State of the City theme was, the Watch Us Grow. The color schemes and everything kind of flowing the same as what that went. So if you chose to do it, you would also have to have, between y'all and city council, to have people man the booth. It's on April the 21st from 2 to 7 p.m. So during that time, if y'all chose to, I could send out an email tomorrow and we could coordinate timeframes, not the whole, everybody at the same time. We don't want a quorum. But we could do intervals between y'all, maybe one council member and one EDC member each hour, or whatever y'all could do, or a couple hours, depending what it would be to fill the.
What is our goal? What are we hoping to gain from participating in this?
Networking primarily, and being good stewards with the chamber. And there'll be other businesses within the chamber. Unless, Lorraine, Robina, would there be any other goal of?
I would go, Angela, you're right, more networking, collaboration, camaraderie with the local cities and being present, because a lot of these things, being a part of the chamber and being to a lot of their meetings, they really are hoping to get more Manvel exposure because it's been so centered, and just because of location and because how it started around Alvin, and it's just pushing more and more and more to come this way because we're growing. And, when we got this email, actually, Councilman Davis brought it to our attention, and the mayor and I, when we discussed it, we felt this was the best place to land it since this is our economic development, and this is where it needs to kind of shine. And so it's basically telling them, we're here, we're getting more and more open for business. Consider your next locations to be here. It's that type of networking, and the chambers are the places that most of the cities our size start. And so just to try and take every opportunity we can to be out there.
The other piece to the cost is the tickets. So it would be $400 for the booth, and then typically the booth sponsors purchase a certain number of tickets to be given out to whoever you wanted to give them out to attend the Taste of the Town. So the tickets are $5 a piece. Not sure if you guys wanted to do the $400 to the booth and a couple $100 worth of tickets, that each person would have a few tickets to divvy out to somebody, or what y'all wanted, if y'all wanted to add tickets to that as well.
Like each one of us get like 10 tickets and say, invite people, whoever we want, to come and get small businesses to come because maybe they'll join for the chamber. Everybody has small little businesses they want to come in. Are we allowed to? I don't know how it works when it comes to, taxpayer money paying for something and then us just giving it away. What's the
So
rule on that?
what you're giving them an invite to is something put on by the chamber, which is other businesses there, which is business related. So Bobby, do you have a?
Well, what budget would, a line item would it come out? I mean, we have some money for promotions?
Yeah, it's not over.
Promoting
I mean, it
economic
doesn't take it
development
over
in
the
the
budget.
city generally, and I don't know, I was asking Chris actually what line item that would come out of.
Yeah. And we also have a ticket line item, don't we? Why did I think we did at some point?
Hold on. If you look in your packets,
I think you're right, Karen, that it does come out of conference and meetings. We used to buy tickets for things.
so you have a conference and meetings line item. You have a publications. Chris, for publications, for advertising, is that, there used to be an advertising line item. Am I missing it on here?
Yeah, there's still a publications line item. It's 5625. It may not be on that trial balance page that I gave you because I don't know that we've spent any money out of it yet.
Oh, gotcha. No,
Oh, yeah.
we haven't.
Yeah. Publications.
Or,
As I was telling Bobby, if it really comes down to it and it's giving anyone heartburn, we can always create another line item and just do a budget amendment and bring it back to you guys and say, if you want to spend the money, we can put it in this line item and call it what you really want to call it, or you can just put it in the publications or
conferences and.
something that gets close.
When is it, Tammy?
It is on April 21st, so it's in a couple weeks.
Can we just agree to take it out of a line item in which we already have money? Are we allowed to do that?
Remember, council has to approve all expenditures, MEDC. So when we do the budget at the beginning of the year with the anticipated expenditures, council, when they approve the budget, approves those expenditures. I'm not saying you can't add something later, but like Chris is right, you should probably do a budget amendment, and then council's got to bless that. Because they don't want you, passing a budget, they approve it, and then, hey, now we can switch it around and do whatever we want. That's not supposed to be how it works.
So they have conferences and meetings, and they've got money in that. That wouldn't take a budget amendment for that. They've also got, it was publications and advertising is what that originally, I think, was. Which it's doing either one of those two items, and it's not over the budget because they haven't spent any money in either item. So,
I don't know what it's, I mean, that's a Chris question. I mean, each category is specific. I don't know if you say publications, if, does it mean this, and this, or, you know, that's a Chris question. I don't know what each line item, I mean, obviously it's abbreviated for this trial balance, but it may include things typically or historically that we've included in orientation and training. We might have done this before, and that's where we took it out of last year or the year before. I don't know.
Well, can I ask, when we approved to continue with the chamber, where did that money go to anyways?
dues and subscriptions.
Dues and subscriptions? Okay. And that is not where we, okay, well, let me ask this, have we ever done anything like this before? This is the first time we've ever done this? Okay, oh, boy.
Yeah, you'd probably have to do some sort of amendment to do it right. If you can't find the exact category where you feel comfortable doing it, you'd have to do an amendment or just say we could put that in the budget for next year.
So if you do an amendment, you're gonna miss the deadline. Unless you're gonna have, I mean, there's no time for me to order the things that have to be ordered to be in within 3 weeks if we have to wait for Monday's council meeting and then a special meeting next week and then still try to get personalized items for the table. So there would be no reason to do an amendment. It would just be push it off till next year if that were the interest, or use the line item for,
Can the city pay for it, Tammy? Like a city of Manvel rather than MEDC, but include both? I mean, just throwing that out there.
Well, we talked about it, you know, we talked about it, just two of us. I mean, not that it matters, but it's just two of us. And we felt like this was the best place for it to be. And even so, we can't get it on an agenda item on Monday to do it anyways. I mean,
Well, there might already be a budget for advertising and promotions, and that Chris would probably have more to work with in the city budget, obviously, than this. And if it's a city, then I would think any instrumentality of the city could, you know, could go make use of
So
that.
it would have to go through to, it would literally have to go to the city by tomorrow, right? Because isn't our meeting
If
next?
it's already budget, if there's a fund budgeted for it, it wouldn't have to be, Kyle can make a purchase under his threshold authority, which $400 isn't even close to
Yeah.
that. So he could make the purchase of whatever we needed to purchase, the $400 ticket or whatever it is. And then if Chris has a bigger budget to work with in the city budget, and it's citywide, and I mean, yes, council members could come, P&Z members could come, MEDC could come, and it just would be a little broader, but obviously, you've got the focus, and you've already got things that you think you could bring to the table, literally. Anyway, just a thought.
Well, as long as, I mean, I as a city person, as an ED server, two hats. One way or the other, I'm glad to know this so that moving forward, we can budget for the future and say, hey, we need to make sure that if we want to do this, let's go ahead and do this on the next agenda. But Bobby, also, if that is the easiest way to go so we don't miss our deadline, since we're agreeing to do this, you're sure that we don't have to put it, and as a council, we don't have to agree to do this. It's just something we can ask Kyle to do. Like, as an EDC, we're asking them
Funds
to
are
do.
budgeted, and it's within council's signature authority to make a purchase, which is $50,000. Then obviously he can, the funds have to be budgeted, and that's where Chris would have to make sure, but like I said, the city budget's got a lot more to work with as far as.
And it's no different than buying a table at the chamber at any of the luncheons, correct? Yeah, I mean, we do that all the time.
so I guess my question then is there nothing in the EDC budget, Chris, for, I mean, it used to be publications and advertisement. There was an advertisement line item. This one would be advertising, or two considered a conference and a meeting. They've spent no money in their expenses. Is there, neither of those line items would work for the EDC side?
It's one of those things that's generally up to you guys, because, you know, during the year, we come across this all the time where somebody goes out and buys something that doesn't match specifically a line item in their department. Public Works may go out and buy a special tool that has no line item whatsoever. And you can either try to put it into something as close as you can so that you can, you know, you can tell the taxpayers, you can tell the auditors, this is where where we put it, thinking that it belongs in this category, and this is what we paid for it. We have the general ledger entry for it, all that fun stuff. And if you want to be a real stickler about it, you can put it into one of these line items that's close right now and say, we want to make this other line item, and we want to transfer this money into that line item later this year to make it look exactly right if you want to do it that way. Either one of those ways is very easy to do. It's a couple of line items, couple of journal entries, and we're good to go.
But we can't do it right now. We have to go to council and get permission to do it.
Council's got.
Is that correct?
That's Public Works doesn't have to wait for council to approve.
Only if there's an amendment, though. If it falls under these guidelines of, like I said, there's been no money spent out of conference and, well, the conference and meetings a little bit for one seminar, but there's still money in there. It is a meeting, and I wish I had the original budget Excel sheet, because there was something in there for advertising. This is I thought it said publications and advertising.
No, I think it was always just publications,
Do we take away the advertising line?
possibly. I mean, it's nomenclature, really. It could have been, in the past years, it could have said both, and we just said, okay, well, take away advertising and just leave publication because it means the same.
Mm-hmm.
That's why some of the times you run across these things where it almost fits a category, but it doesn't, because we can't name every category. You know, tools and hammers and screwdrivers and things of that nature, that doesn't work for most people. It's just tools. And if you have a hammer, if you have a screwdriver, if you have a nail, if you have something that's close, you put it in that line item and you go. As long as you have money to cover everything that you're doing, there's not a whole lot of times where somebody's just going to come up and say, oh, hey, you know, you really, really, really should have put it in one category versus this other one. Or if they want that, then, like I said, we can create it at that point in time and say, come back to us when we have a few more months and we can take this to council properly and say, we would like to amend this budget, do this, and then I'll make the transfer.
So for EDC, it's just a little bit different, same as what Bobby was saying. Unlike the being able to go over a line item in the general budget, the EDC's guidelines are that the council has to approve every expenditure. They approve their expenditure when they approve their budget, but just as it's listed, not the breakdown of what's going to be spent within that amount, but that amount, period. So for EDC, we can't necessarily, if it doesn't fit within either of those line items, which is why I'm trying to make sure it does, then they wouldn't be able to spend it and then come back, because that's not how they're set up.
Right. And if that's the case, you want to go with Bobby's option. Just take it out of the events and holidays line item, I think is what it is in the administration budget. And then if you want to reimburse the city at some point in time, you can have that line item in there. We can go ahead and make it, create it, do it right way, and then just reimburse the city from whatever line item you create back into that events and holidays line item in the administration fund. That's another way to go.
Okay, so if that's the case, then there's no action on it on the EDC side, and let the city do it at Kyle's authority.
The action would be to request the city to sponsor the booth and associated, ticket expenses or something like that.
So Monday, it doesn't have to go before a council meeting. The issue would be it not only would have to go to city council on Monday, for y'all then to spend the money, we have to have a special meeting for y'all then to take official action on it. So council can't approve it, and then it would be a budget amendment in essence, and you guys would have to make.
Go the other way, then you could move on it tomorrow and get what you needed to.
We just have to give direction to ask, as a whole, take action to ask the city to pay for, sponsor the booth, and then we'll take it from there, either by reimbursing them and then coming back later with an amendment to create a line item for the future. But at least they're paying for it, and if we can reimburse after the fact. Is that correct? Did I hear that right?
Well, the cities can spend it no matter what. I mean, economic development is a municipal purpose, so the city could spend anything, and if it benefits the city-wide, it benefits the city. Like I said, PD&Z members, even if they wanted, might be able to come, city council members, so I'm not sure there would have to be a reimbursement, but,
Okay.
I mean, MEDC could, you know, a nice gesture, but it's probably not required.
Yeah, that'd be a lot of duplicate work after the fact. If it's already
I
done,
don't know, I
let
was
it
just
be
thinking
done.
about that when I said that.
That's a lot
But
of
at the
work.
same time, I don't know if it's just like the principle of the matter, like it's our thing. The only reason why they're doing it, I was just thinking as I was saying it out loud, it's a principle, kind of like, it's our thing, we brought this forward, it's economic development, it's us networking for the city, and they're paying for it. I want to make it look like we're doing our part.
I think that the city could just as well be, you know, involved in economic development and explaining permitting to businesses or having resources, any type of handout, so I think.
Invite Jessica, she'll man the booth.
Which is exactly, the mayor's intent was for city council to man the booth, so it was more of a mechanism.
Staff can man the booth so that they can tell
bringing
everybody what
the-
we recommend, okay. Okay, so do we need to just make a motion asking direction?
Ask for the
city?
record to say that you made a, you know, make a motion to request the city to sponsor a booth and related tickets for MEDC and the city to further.
So by doing it that way though, Bobby, it seems like it's going to the council. It's not a council agenda item. The request would just be for me to get with Kyle on it.
Okay.
So no action seems to be clearer to me, because if Kyle doesn't push forward on it, I mean, I can't see why he wouldn't, but again, it's not recommended to go to the council.
Well,
The
you're
money is in the budget item.
Requesting the city, and in this case, since Kyle's authorized to make the expenditure without council, really Kyle is the one you're asking. Or even just say, ask the city manager.
Okay, I like that idea.
It'd be nice to just have a record of it, and then we can, somebody needs to remember for next budget year to maybe look at the line items and be a little bit more, maybe other line items too, we might want to look at stuff that we, you know, could include in other line items as well. Might not just be, you know, publications and advertisements.
Okay. Yeah, just a motion to request Kyle.
Can I get a, excuse me, can we get a motion?
I'll make a motion that we take no action and direct.
Need a motion for that?
No,
Well,
we don't.
she just said motion, so no, what,
No,
We just need to
Motion.
make a motion to recommend.
to recommend that we ask
Motion to
city manager.
Perhaps to request the city manager sponsor a booth on behalf of the MEDC and the rest of the city and associated tickets to further economic development.
for the record, what Bobby said.
Something like that.
And I'll second that motion.
Okay, so.
All in favor?
All in favor, say
Aye.
thank you. Okay, that's our next item. Alrighty. Consideration and possible action on strategic goals and priorities.
This one's on here as a result of Lorraine from the last meeting. Typically, you guys met, we're gonna go on a quarterly schedule. Lorraine wanted to meet this month to discuss goals, so not sure if you brought any goals, suggestions, or ideas.
I've slept since then.
So if y'all wanted
Well,
to
I have a
discuss
goal.
them,
To review our line items so that we can do the things we would like to do for the future. Goal number one, just look closely at our line items and make sure that we can accomplish what we would like to accomplish outside the city. And I mean that with love.
Okay.
And, oh, I do have something now that I thought about that. So in the same spirit of that, making sure we have the line items that are appropriate for our goals, I have, with Karen's thought in my mind, we talked about 501c, talked about Manvel beautification and just some small chit chat and some board stuff. So moving forward with that, knowing that our budget is a little bit healthy with small things like that, I wanted to engage and have somebody come talk to us about what it looks like, with Bobby's blessing, if we're allowed to come up with a nonprofit type of status for MED so that we can put some money into beautification around the city. Like keep Pearland beautiful, like keep Alvin beautiful, that sort of thing. It's set up in a certain way. I understand it has board members, it's got paperwork, and money that has to go with it in a process so that we can beautify areas of Manvel the way we would see for the future. And so I pal around with Adrian Hernandez over at Keep Pearland Beautiful, and I'm learning more about how Alvin does theirs, and they would like to see us do the same, something very similar. And I don't even know what those projects will look like. You know, we're talking like flowers in certain areas, greenery, statues, things like that. But to put it under that status so we can do cute things like fundraisers and, you know, get county and other people involved. And how do you guys feel about that? How do you think you want to use a little bit of our economic money to make a difference in that area? Yeah.
Question about, doesn't the city require when a new building goes in, there's so much that they have to do as far as landscaping and, okay, so what will we be looking at specifically if the new businesses that come in are already required to do so much, where are we looking for that? I mean, I think it's a great idea, Lorraine.
My answer, I don't know. But I do know that there are areas we can explore and look into, like, but I don't know, just, yeah. Welcome to Manvel Size, yeah.
Project that started 5 years ago and see if it can progress.
And also for the beautification, I remember Alvin saying that. For the beautification, I remember folks in Alvin saying that they have it's the nonprofit in Houston. Also, they said a long time ago. I think I talked with Karen about this. So, and that they give you flowers and plants, you know, at no cost. So we can look into that as well. I think it's a good thing.
And so if we want to go this way, like signage, that's one of the great things to put under that, and adding to landscape and seeing if we can say, hey, you're a new business in Manvel. I know you were required to put 4 shrubs and a tree, but we would love to give you something else. I'm just throwing that out there. You're absolutely right. We don't have a lot of open green space, but we are going to get it. It is coming. The city's planning on it. But to get ahead, to get that process of our own Keep Manvel beautiful so that we can be prepared as we grow. And again, I'm just looking at other cities, and I'm not just learning from them, but spending time with some of their leadership that knows how to get some of this done. And one of the things I was going to ask him to do is to come and kind of give us a gist about how they got there. I mean, what did you have to do, and what collaboration did you need with the city, and what do we need to expect to put aside, and the processes to do it so we can be successful by learning by our other cities. And I, you know, again, Karen told me that way back in the day it was so hard, but today's a new day, and we can maybe finish and still add to what we have going on right now. So, I mean, not a lot of money, but that's just a goal that I wanted to kind of add and everybody contemplate on if there's anything else that somebody want to, because I'm with Robina. Robina and I am going to bring this up here in public, that talked a lot about how we don't want to be stagnant. I know that we're giving what we're supposed to give and collaborating with the city the way we're supposed to with the big stuff, but we still have, you know, life in us to do for the little guy and or for the goals that we've been on, you know, sticking to small business, small infrastructure, maybe starting to move towards beautification and small things that we can do and guiding our future. Just a thought.
And it's a good promotional tool. We're trying to promote this city on the rise that we're developing, we're growing, so it has to look the part as well, even in those small instances.
The only project that I remember that went okay, I'm not going to say great, let's just say okay, was the recycling. And we had one Saturday that people brought their metal and batteries and things like that. But there was a lot of involvement to get that done. And that might even be before Tammy.
It was before 2004.
That was even before Tammy and Bobby was part-time. I mean, that was a long time ago. But we did have it. We had it in the when the city was down here where the police station is, in their parking lot. It was a lot of work and very little participation. But that is something that we could have a goal to do. And maybe it would help some of the criticism on talk of Manvel.
So that kind of can they do that kind of keep Manvel? I mean, I get keep Manvel beautiful in the commercial area and making it look appealing to businesses, but can you do stuff to help clean up the community rurally, not really commercially?
That's a tough one. I mean, everything's centered around a project, remember? So we do the project, you advertise it, you wait the time period. But the project's got to be linked to the certain restricted use of funds that we can do. So usually it's targeted infrastructure. You know, you want to put in a water line, a sewer line down Highway 6 to benefit the businesses there. That's a classic example of kind of what you're doing. And that's what we're, 90% of the funds going forward, you've already committed to the city to do that for the whole city center development, which is the parks and the ball fields, which are economic generators. Now, you do have the 10% to kind of do the small project specifically for what Lorraine, for what you said. That was actually, at the time, the board said, we don't want to give 100%, but we want to make a big impact, so it pretty much gave the bulk of it. And that's what a lot of cities do. Believe it or not, a lot of cities I've represented in the past don't have a very active economic development corporation because they've committed their funds in bonds going out 30 years. There's no money to even do anything with, so they basically meet once a year to do nothing, really.
But still make a big impact.
But you still have the 10% to make an impact on the smaller stuff. But everything has to be around a project. Like if you remember the pole sign project, where if you want to change out your older pole sign and put a new sign in, we would pay the 50/50 up to a certain amount on that kind of stuff. I mean, those are the type of projects. Now, Keep Houston Beautiful, I know a lot about because my girlfriend is actually on the board. And she also is the staff person for Keep Lake Jackson Beautiful. So if you want a resource to figure out how the city interacts with it, the board, I think it's actually its own nonprofit kind of associated with the city. And I think it's difficult to use economic development funds for that. I think it's funded largely through the city. And I know for Houston, it's by a lot of grants. The big waste management companies or the BP, they're the ones kind of floating that type of expenditures. But I think you have to be careful about trying to use economic development funds just to give to keep Manvel beautiful for basic landscape projects. Now, if you want to target a certain area and do a project to landscape in front of all the businesses on Highway 6 or something like that, you'd have a better chance. You'd have to check the statute on that, but that would be better than just a general, we're supporting an entity. We want to give an X amount of money to an entity that generally beautifies Manvel.
Did we have anybody apply? Did we use our pole sign event at all?
I don't know if we actually got somebody to submit. We got a lot of people interested, even Brooke Honorays. He was going to.
Little Rascals.
Yep, Little Rascals.
That was the only one that qualified. Because it was.
Problem is everybody loves pole signs because they're tall and they're more visible, even though they arguably don't look as nice as a modern sign.
Not with a pole sign. But you did do a project for Corey, the reimbursement for costs for his, I think, something with the fire stuff that he had to have for his building, and some permitting fees.
So considering goals of our pole sign initiative, are we going to keep that as a goal or revamp it or keep going with it? That's something to consider for the future, whether we're going to still do that. But considering what Bobby was saying about around projects, so again, just doing that deeper dive on how to either think of some projects, if beautification is one of them, but still I'd like to just dig into what it would look like to, I get what you're saying, Bobby, and I'm so grateful for your clarity on that concerning legally what we can and cannot do. But I guess, when it comes to like a chamber, we give money to the chamber the same way. I don't know how that's any different than giving to a charitable organization. When it comes to something that we're doing in the city, like a project that particular entity would be doing for the city. I just want to know, I guess, what our options are. Is it something that the EDC could use, or a tool, I guess, a 501c, or is it something we just have to come up with and do on our own? But
We're kind of our own nonprofit
We are? Okay.
corporation, so I don't know, 'cause we're actually a different legal entity from the city, even though the way the statute is, like I said, the council kind of controls the purse strings at the end of the day. But there's corporate status, and we think we have a couple of other corporations. We have the South Manvel Development Authority, which is its own corporation. I think we have a Housing Development Corporation, Tammy, don't we? Housing Finance Corporation, which is a pass-through issuer for some state bond program. We have, these are actually different instrumentalities. They're different legal entities. So I don't know that if we create Keep Manvel Beautiful, they might be yet another
Gotcha.
legal entity that would be a Texas nonprofit corporation.
I see. So we would just be, that would be just something absolutely separate from all of us, but there's not really a good way for us to fund it in any way. It'd have to be funded solely separately?
Yes.
Well, really to be safe, you've got to stand on your own and make sure you're fitting through the statute.
Okay.
We do with the, Chamber of Commerce, because arguably they're promoting the city as economic development for us. So like we're buying their services. It's kind of how you justify an economic development through a Chamber of Commerce, because that's their mission. Okay, so we join, and hopefully, like any other business, what are we getting back from joining the chamber? Well, we're promoting you. We're sending blasts out.
So if if
Networking.
it was created, so if in that logic, if the Keep Manvel Beautiful was created, we could realistically say we're promoting this because they are helping us with projects. Their goal is to beautify Manvel. That is what ours is. It is promoting our city.
But as,
in
landscaping
that
generally
logic.
promoting economic development, you can make an argument, yeah. I mean, anything you're doing to make the city look better is gonna make Manvel look better, maybe more, that's gonna arguably attract more people to come here, spend their money. It's just a little harder to justify that as opposed to a project where we're gonna put X amount of sewer line for targeted infrastructure for an area that we wanna, like 1128. Do we want that to be
And I would
more
totally go with
commercial
that.
than not? You can target that.
And I would totally go with that if we had 15 projects right in front of us saying, hey, choose us first. But we don't have that right now, so.
On that, you're absolutely right, but keep in mind, when you nickel and dime your savings, and I'm gonna use this as an example, I don't know if they're coming or not, but we had our car, the Tesla, the repair guy came to the house last week and got to chit-chatting, said we worked in Manvel, and he said, oh, we had a meeting last week with all of our management. They're gonna build a service center in Manvel. Like, what? So if something like that were to come and need your assistance and you've nickel-dimed it to death on little things, you could lose a big opportunity for something because we don't know what's in the pipeline behind what hasn't been approached yet. So just saying, I don't know if they're planning to come to Manvel or not. That just seemed crazy that they had a staff meeting and Manvel was a location that came up. What could we offer them different than one of our neighboring cities? I don't know, but it'd be a good thing to have from a Tesla owner. So just saying, we don't know what's in the pipeline for big businesses or little businesses maybe wanting to come to the city. So there's always good things for saving.
So I guess how do you guys feel about pursuing these kind of goals? Do you think it's something we should just inquire about? I want to make sure I'm within the legal parts of it, but
Well, I think a Keep Manvel Beautiful is something that we could all benefit from, but I don't know that it's necessarily the MEDC's. That may be a council thing and a city thing, and of course, we could always participate and help them and volunteer our time, but I don't know that our funds is what.
that's what I'm hearing too.
Terry and Diana Stiles was the ones that generated Keep Manvel Beautiful and ran it for a couple of years. And they are the one that got the 501c and things like that. And Carrie at the time was on city council, I believe. So to know what they did, do they have the paperwork, it might be still still an open 501c.
Right.
Diana and Carrie should be the ones we contact. Yes, ma'am. I can give you a phone number.
I would love to hear that meeting. I definitely would like to get that going for that, so. But anyway, those are just a couple of things I wanted to put out, is to discuss that, and I'm glad we vetted that out so we know where we stand on that and how we could do it. But signage for the city, monument, someplace, maybe that's one thing as a goal. Any other community projects or anything that we want to just come back to later? That was just a couple of things I had.
It seems to me like the city might have a project or two in the back of their mind. Bobby's promoted it 2 meetings in a row now. I've picked up on that. Bobby, 2 meetings in a row now, has discussed water and sewer down
Yes, he has.
1128.
Yes, he has.
And so he discussed that the last 2 meetings. And then we've discussed the water and sewage going down Highway 6 east.
Yeah.
And that is a project that I was really interested in with the lift station and everything. And we don't have to always wait for somebody to say they need water and sewage. We can go ahead and promote that project and put it in and have it ready for the people. Because I know nobody that wants to put in the big ponds for the drainage. Look, Manvel Seafood, for instance. And we approved that project 10 years ago, and it's still not there. But we don't have to wait to promote a project like that. And I know the city's got something in the back of their minds. They just need to bring it forward and talk. Okay, EDC, we would like to do this. See, I'm giving you the floor there.
He's like,
You're not wrong. We will tell you you're not wrong.
I know I'm not wrong.
Can they do technology projects as well, like fiber, or is fiber all the way through our commercial areas?
That's a good question, Tammy. I don't know if that's on the laundry list of infrastructure, if that fits in the definition of targeted infrastructure or not. That's a new one.
Because it's highly needed to function. Everything is literally we're so rural that I don't know what most people's connections are, but you can pass through areas of the city and everything goes dead on your cell phone or.
Well, we do have, we did put money in the budget for a planning company to come in and tell us what we can put down. So that is already like in the works right now. We put it in the budget. I think Kyle brought us in an update that they're going to literally assess the city, and from our new places all the way out to a little bit further out, where we could put it, the fiber, where we could put this cable, so that we can plan to either get development in their agreements to pay for it, or where we can budget to put it where they're not going to. So that is somewhat in the works, but what we can do to contribute to that, not sure yet, because we don't really have that yet. And when we get that plan, I know Larry and I will be happy to ask council at that time, can we include the EDC on anything that we could do? But that is being worked on. They've hired somebody, we put money aside for it, and that's on its way. That's a big deal to have internet everywhere. I know that to be true. Okay.
So no action. And then we're on number B.
D. Consideration and possible action to nominate and appoint the following board positions: MEDC President, MEDC Vice President, MEDC Secretary.
You guys can do this one by one, or somebody can just make a motion for a slate of the 3 positions and however you guys want to do it.
Well, I make a motion that we elect Robina for our president.
I'll second that one. No, you don't.
No.
Okay.
You want to do all 3 of them at the same time, Angela?
I don't know who else
Oh.
wants other stuff. I just know she's been taking care of it and
Yes.
doing a great job, so
Yes.
let's let her.
If you want to do that individually, you can vote on that one.
Okay.
First and second for that one.
So we just have to vote, right?
Yes, you can do them individually.
Okay.
So just call, if you've got a motion and a second for you as the president. You want to call that one for a vote?
We call that, can't wait. All those in favor can say aye.
Aye.
Okay. The ayes have it. Now for MEDC Vice President. Are there any nominations?
I'd like to make a motion to nominate Karen Kinlaw for vice president.
I'll second.
You
Okay,
can say thank you.
right? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so moved. MEDC Secretary. Have any motions? Angela?
Is that your motion, Karen?
Motion to nominate Angela for secretary?
Second.
So moved. Angela's secretary.
Okay.
And vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Next is the consent agenda. Motion to remove. Is that minutes? I'm sorry. Motion to remove the minutes from consent agenda and table it.
So for the minutes, they're not in there. My computer and my shared file locked up some of my folders between me and Alyssa. So when she did the minutes, it locked it up on my side where I couldn't get in to print them, and she was already gone. So those will be on your next agenda, if we could just table those tonight.
Yes.
Make a motion to table the consent agenda on the minutes.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
B, receive, consider the treasurer's report to date. A motion to approve treasurer's report for the consent agenda.
Make a motion to approve the treasury report.
Second.
Vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. I do believe we have adjournment. All right, we're adjourning at 8 o'clock.